Hello, ballers! What's going on? It's Preacher in our relaxation time, grinding time, whatever you want to call it. Our honeymoon period, the pre-game, has come to an end. The reset is upon us and the whole game is about to unlock. Blizzard very wise, in my opinion, with giving us this free time. I know some of you focusing on one character are probably a little tired now. Like, I'm ready for, like, the real game to start. And that's exactly the way it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be well on your way with your reputations by now. Well on your way with getting your basics done, getting through to Mythics, getting used to the dungeons before Mythic Plus kicks in, because the last thing you really want is people jumping straight into Mythic Plus without having at least a basic understanding of the dungeons and what's supposed to be happening there and so on and so forth. And now that period has come to an end. So many people asking, like, what do I need to be raid ready? What am I doing, or is the best route to get myself ready for Uldir? Because it's now upon us. What do we need? What Heart of Azeroth levels do we need? Those kind of questions are flying around heavily because some people put a lot of emphasis on minimum requirements. Some guilds do, even if their guild's standards don't really live up to those expectations, you know, things like that, about what we're going to actually want when we get into Uldir. So what I can tell you is, first of all, I'm managing 3 characters for raiding, so I've been super busy over the last 3 weeks because that has been a lot of grinding, a lot of stuff. I've got every character Champions of Azeroth revered to give me my final necklace upgrade. You do not get a necklace upgrade at Exalted, if you didn't know. I have got them all neck levels that I can get, so it goes 21 on the Mage, 20 on the Druid, and 19 on the Warrior. I capped my Warrior a little later. And also got them everywhere between 348 item level, right up to that standard of choice of gears. Now, what specs am I going to be playing on those? Because the 3 characters are a mage, a warrior, and a druid. Well, they're typically going to be DPS for now, but I tanked and healed on the classes capable of doing that. What I will say is, right now, balance is up in the air. We are expecting a balancing patch. So a lot of you guys are looking like, what spec is going to be best for Uldir? Which is going to be the best damage dealing spec of the mage? Which one's going to be Arms or Fury for the warrior? Are we balanced, or are we going to be looking at Feral for the druid? What's going to be best? Which one are we going to go for? We don't know. We've no idea. They have said there's a balance patch coming. Yeah, there's going to be a balancing patch where they try and smooth things out and work it out. So the way I cope with that is I just prepare for everything. I'm not disenchanting anything. I haven't scrapped anything that looks like it could be decent. Unless it's obvious trash, I haven't got rid of it. I've kept all my Azerite armor. I tried to show this on the Allcraft show this last Thursday. I was on the Allcraft show with Asmon, Hotted, and Rich, where I made sure we could see to a broad audience just how wonky Azerite gear is right now, and they're going to be doing something with it. Probably. Like, there's a very high chance they're going to be switching around which ones are your best traits. The traits are boring. We know that. We knew that months ago. But either way, we'll still want the best ones, right? That is the nature of the beast. If someone tells us the red laser is better than the green laser, we'll all want the red laser. It doesn't matter that it shoots exactly the same. So keep everything. That's what I've done. I've got my bags all full, stuffed with gear, stats that I probably won't want, stats I might want, stats that may be good, maybe not, and just keep everything until this balance patch comes in, because it might be on a mage. It's like suddenly we're playing fire, suddenly we're playing arcane, suddenly we're going to be doing some sort of weird frost spec. We've no idea, so I recommend for all of you guys, just make sure you hold on to everything. With the last couple of days, I've worked on my professions to make sure we've got flasks as good as Anchorweed can possibly be. There's a bigger video coming on the weird, obviously, transition of teams at Blizzard, who seem to have not realized why certain systems, such as feasts, such as cauldrons, all these things were implemented in the first place. They maybe weren't even at the company when those items were brought in, and aren't really sure why they're there, and have now seen them as some sort of prestigious item, as opposed to being a convenience item, which is what they're supposed to be. Which is rather sad, honestly. It's rather sad to see systems go that way that shouldn't go that way whatsoever. But that is the nature of the beast right now, and I'm hoping somebody at Blizzard goes, whoa, 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 what are you doing here? This is stupid. I have already seen threads of people looking at, like, do I really need to flask or food? Do I need potions? Because, frankly, they're really horrific to get in some cases. I mean, they're not fun. You're asking me to grind, in some cases, certainly in the case of the feasts, to grind longer to make feasts than are feasible for the time we're going to be raiding using them. Like, it makes no sense. This item is completely ridiculous. But we'll see how it goes with that. That's going to be something that's going to be looked at over time. This did happen with Legion as well, I want to point out. It happened with Legion. It happened very heavily in TBC, where consumables and stuff were just completely a mess with what was required. And Blizzard did do something about it relatively shortly into the expansion. So I'm not too concerned as it is right now. Basically, what I've done is anything I found, if it's not been stuff the guild bankers wanted, then I've kind of kept it just to level up my professions. But I haven't really capped my professions. I found no need to. For a profession breakdown, I have herbalism on 2 characters. I have tailoring on my mage, which I did cap because it was very easy to for some reason. I have enchanting on 1 character, which I'm nowhere near capping, but again, I have no requirement to cap it. It's not important for me to cap it. I can save it to make recipes or to make items for the recipes that appear via world quests for the rank 3s to make them cheaper in the future. No point in power leveling that whatsoever. And that's how I've run things. Similar with cooking, I'm making the food I need for raiding at like cooking 80, so there's no point in me spamming it. I might as well wait until recipes are called for on the world quest map and save my cooking skill via that. So I would be warned of that. If you've not done your professions yet, you don't need to cap a lot of them. You can actually just hold them back, and ultimately it will save you a lot of time and resources. And I'm very aware that many of us do not like having the bar not full. It's nice just to be full and done, especially as we have the reputation to learn the end game recipes and stuff, but there's no real reason to hunt for it while we're still unlocking various recipes and things that'll make things easier in the future. So I would just hold back on that as well. In terms of gearing, this comes up more down, like the gearing process for me and the way I've approached this is basically preparing for Wednesday, not particularly preparing for the raid. So my game plan on a Wednesday, well, on the reset in the EU is on a Wednesday, is going to be straight into the Warfronts and the world bosses. So the Warfronts, I believe, are going to be Alliance first, so I'll have to hold back on that. We will get the Warfront, the outdoor world bosses. Go and get there, hope for a chance at something, pick up coins, but not spending them. Yeah, we're going to pick up the coins for the raids. And then as quickly as possible, jump into Mythic Plus. Like, as much as Mythic Plus as you can do before the raids and in between your raids is going to make an enormous difference. I don't think people really respect this, how much of a difference it's going to be. Gearing over the last 3 weeks has been locked. It's gear caps, right? Essentially, they locked it at a particularly low level. Like, compared to what's about to happen over the reset, 355 is not going to be particularly good. You're going to get much, much higher from Mythic Plus, and of course from raiding via a simple Warforge will demolish that, let alone Titan Forge and gear. This is what you're going to be dealing with, which is why I'm not really going to have my way to spend money at the auction house, as I find it a little useless to spend money at the auction house for gear that I'm going to replace rather quickly once the actual full game unlocks. We've basically been playing the teaser version of BFA, showing you how the systems work, getting you into islands, doing all that kind of stuff. Whereas now we're actually going to get into the gearing process. So that's my game plan, is do as much outdoor content. I'm basically going to leave world quests alone. They become very secondary compared to gear, because we'll be jumping into the raids Wednesday evening and whenever your raid schedule is. So having gear is probably more important unless you're about to tick over. I will note here, we have had confirmed, because our first catch-up system came in for the Heart of Azeroth this week. It is now worth, unless the system changes, until the end of BFA, is to save your 2 emissary quests that are closest to the reset, okay? And then turning them in after the reset. So you turn 3 emissary quests in. So that'll be, if you're in the US, it'll be save Sunday's emissary, Monday's emissary, and then you'll have a free gap for the Tuesday emissary on the reset, and on that day, turn all 3 in. The reason for this is pretty simple. The way the Azerite system catch-up works is it squashes the amount of AP you need to get your next Heart of Azeroth level, so you'll need less to get your next level, but in order to maintain the same percentage, because it's a catch-up mechanic, not a boost mechanic, it's to allow people who are behind you to catch up to you, so they need less to reach you. But Azerite itself is a flat number and will remain a flat number in terms of gains throughout the entirety of Battle for Azeroth. So the quest that giving you like 260 AP right now will give you 260 AP at the end of Battle for Azeroth. That's how it's going to work, instead of it getting to ludicrous numbers like in Legion. So because they maintain a flat number, as do your emissary turn-ins, it is well worth now, yeah, waiting until after the reset, because they're worth more. In order to maintain the same percentage after it crosses over and it squishes the amount of Azurite you need to get the next level, they have to squash your total amount of Azurite for that level in order to keep the percentage the same. That means that you get a 30% reduction in the value of the AP you've already collected. You haven't lost anything, right? It's all mathematical. You haven't lost anything. But what it does mean is because the AP is flat numbers, they're worth more after the reset. So you're well worth saving your emissary turn-ins. So if you have got one that's like, we have got a Champions of Azeroth one today, which gives us 600 AP plus 400 that you get for just turning in an emissary. That's 1,000 AP. It's worth more on Wednesday than it is to me now, because it'll be squashed by 30% or whatever when the reset actually occurs. So that's something you want to bear in mind as well, is just hoard those emissary quests 2 days before your reset, so you have 3 turn-ins on the actual reset day. So get used to doing that. You'll be doing that probably till the end of BFA, unless they actually go ahead and change something, which is it's pretty unlikely. It's pretty unlikely. I think they're going to stick with this system. That's the way it's going to go. On reset days, again, jump straight into Mythic Plus. Jump in, get into Mythic Plus as much as possible. That's going to be farming something like 6s or 7s. You do want 10, okay? Mythic Plus 10 will give you the best rewards. Now, the difference here, of course, is Azurite Armor. Azurite Armor does not drop in Mythic Plus. There are still so many people who aren't aware of that. It does not drop in Mythic Plus. Azurite Armor from Mythic Plus only comes at the end of week cache. It has a... sorry, I can't help it. Cache. The end of week cache. And it has an extremely high chance of being in there. You do get multiple items now in the end of week cache. But it jumps in stages. Okay, it jumps in stages. So there isn't 5 item level bumps in Azurite Armor depending on which level of Mythic Plus you do, as that is the case with things like trinkets, boots, rings, and so on and so forth. They all increase by like 5 item levels depending on which Mythic Plus you did. The Azurite Armor does not work like that. It has very set tiers which correspond with raiding. So there's a normal version, a heroic version, and a mythic version, essentially. And they will jump up like this. You get one for Mythic 0, for Mythic plus 1, I believe. Mythic 2. Then you get one at plus 4, then at plus 7, and then at plus 10. Okay? So those are if you get a 10, you get the best version. But if you do a plus 9, you will only get the 7 version. Okay? There is no difference between the plus 7 version and the plus 10 version. Again, it's just to correspond with what's happening in raids. So what that translates to is it is very, very worthwhile jumping into the raids as early as possible and trying to get Azurite Armor out of there. Otherwise, you might end up stuck with 340 pieces for a really long time. And you don't want that. You don't want that. You want to get in there and get them done. Even though the Azurite Armor in raids may not be BIS for you, in most cases, the very, very dull, arbitrary passive bonuses, such as Laser Matrix from Uldea, are very high for most classes. So even though it's like pretty dull, pretty boring, combined with the amount of main stat you'll get from item level, it looks pretty likely that you'll still want that raid Azurite Armor despite it not being BIS or whatever, while hunting for the Mythic Plus. It also does mean that if you are heavy into Mythic Plus, it's still going to be worthwhile at least jumping into normal and heroic raiding to try and get some Azurite Armor, because if you're relying entirely on Mythic Plus, you're gonna be really playing the lottery very hardcore. You're only gonna get maybe 1 piece a week, maybe 2. We'll see what actually happens after the first Mythic Plus reset. And also hoping it gives you a good one. And as many of you now know, there's a lot of really bad Azurite Armor. There's some really bad pieces. And the Mythic Plus box will pull from all the potential Azurite Armor in the dungeons. So you could go weeks and weeks and weeks just getting pairs of shoulders. Right, then there'll be duplicates, there'll be all that kind of stuff, and you'll get no chest, no head, vice versa. You might get a head, shoulders, and chest of a high item level, but they're just awful, awful stats. Raiding is definitely going to be something you want to do to get your character's power up, even if it's only to provide extremely dull, tedious procs that seemingly just do a lot of damage for some reason. That's the way it's going to go. So right now, that's what I'm doing on my characters. I've prepared food for them all. I have flasks, kind of. I focused on intellect flasks as the balanced druid and my mage are my top priority, and also some potions. A combination of rising death and intellect potions for me. They have different uses, which is nice to see. The different potions for different occasions is very nice. I know most of us are used to basically just using prolonged power from Legion for everything, but this time there is some benefits to using different potions if you really into maximizing your characters. My final message here is good luck to you. good luck to the Alliance, who I do believe are getting the Warfronts first. May your loot be plenty. I hope you're not too disappointed in the Warfronts. They are kind of visually spectacular, but they're not the best content, in my opinion. But I would love to see you guys tell me different. That would be great if you guys could do that. And from then on, in terms of the channel as a whole, we're going to start doing what we usually do, which is finding ways of making you better. We're going to be looking at some TDPs of playing different characters in different mythics, and also hopefully showing you guys into Mythic Plus. What problems we're having for those of you who are a little worried about Mythic Plus, not sure what's dangerous in there, how you should cope with things. We can use the TDP to kind of highlight that, see me make mistakes and all that kind of stuff, and how we're going to learn from that as well. So the usual stuff in hopefully making you guys better players, or encouraging you guys to learn a little bit more. That's what I'll be focusing on here. All right, guys, as well as we are now currently working on the next Legacy video. I know some of you have been waiting a while for it, but we are underway. We are underway now. Now we're in the full raiding scene. Thank you so much for listening, guys. I've missed you a lot, and I'm glad to be sat here in front of this microphone once more without, you know, a few thousand people glaring at me on the other side of a stream. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.